A potential 2026 Olympian is with the Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Seattle hockey fans, welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your number one sports network. My name is Erica Ayala, your host of Locked On Kraken, also a contributor over at CBS Sports and an accredited media member for Milano Cortina. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know it is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can head to FanDuel, create an account, and if you win your first $5 bet, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Okay, today's episode, we're going to talk about the potential Olympian, likely Olympian for Denmark, Team Denmark, Oscar Fisker Mølgaard. Now, if you are an everydayer or an OGer, you make us your first listen of the day, your midday listen, or your late night listen, then you know that I was pretty high on Oscar Fisker Mølgaard coming into training camp, definitely coming out of training camp. And we actually had an exclusive interview with Oscar. You can check that out. He's been with the AHL, of course, to start the season with Coachella Valley. But he is expected to be with the team, at least for the foreseeable future. And so we got the news yesterday. We heard from Lane Lambert today, Thursday, ahead of our game against Chicago, which we'll talk about coming up later. But, Lane Lambert, that is, told us that there were a few different things that went into this decision. Let's hear first from Oscar Fisker Mølgaard and then from Lane Lambert on why the call-up.
Well, Oscar, you got to be excited to be here in an NHL locker room in the middle of the season.
I mean, hockey, it goes fast in hockey sometimes, and when I got the call up yesterday, just a pure excitement and joy, and looking forward to tonight.
What was kind of the last 24 hours like for you? Who kind of told you? How did that process go, and when did you get here?
It was busy. I mean, I was doing my workout there yesterday in CV, and then Ron called me into the office. He was down there visiting us, and told me I've been doing a good job, and I had to get on a plane to Chicago in a couple of hours. So it's been a bit hectic. It came in last night, but I'm just excited to get going. I'm really happy to be here.
What's been the message kind of from the coaching staff and from the group about how you can impact this team in this game?
I mean, I think I proved to them and myself too that I can play at this level, and I obviously did a good job in camp, and I've just been trying to build off of that and get even better. So playing my game, skate and move my feet, that's the key.
What does 3 years of playing pros in Sweden do for you when you come up here and play in an NHL game for the first time?
I mean, obviously that's given me some experience playing both pro in Sweden, and even at the World Championships playing against guys like I'm going to play against today. So I know what to expect, and I know how to play against those guys. So hopefully it won't be too much to adapt to. So looking forward.
I want to start with obviously calling up Oscar Fisker Mølgaard yesterday. Just what aspects of his game made you guys want to bring him up and give him a chance?
He's been playing very well down there. I thought he showed himself real well in training camp. We felt like we wanted to move Freddy up into that third hole and put Berkly on wing. Therefore, we needed a centerman to come and fill that role, like Ben Meyers was filling that role. So, just a little bit of a lineup adjustment.
Is there anything about his game in particular that stands out to you?
Well, he's a smart player. He's been killing penalties down there. He's done a really good job of that, and his skating is good. He's a good hockey player.
So that's Lane Lambert talking about Oscar Fisker Mølgaard. We also were able to hear from Oscar that his family is coming, expected to fly through London. I think there was a little bit of a delay from what he was saying to media. So hopefully his family will arrive in plenty of time to see his debut at United Center in Chicago. But something else that you heard from Lane Lambert is that moving Berkly Catton, as well as moving Freddy Gaudreau up, was a part of what Lane Lambert was thinking here. Ben Meyers was sent back to the AHL, or sent to the AHL, so that left that space open. Ben Meyers has been a healthy scratch here. So, I think this means that someone else is probably shifting out of the lineup. It's probably Jani Nyman. But what does that mean for Shane Wright? You have another centerman in Oscar Fisker Mølgaard that's able to come in, but we've also seen him play center and wing. And I want you to hear, this is a part of a lost clip. Unfortunately, we had some technical issues, weren't able to have this air yesterday, but we heard from Lane Lambert that a part of what he wants to see from Shane Wright is for him to lean into this shooter. Like, he's been calling him a shooter. He's a shooter. And by moving Shane Wright to the wing, he's hoping that would open things up offensively. But I don't know. Does this now mean that Shane Wright is going to have to slide into that centerman role if Berkly Catton is going to be on the wing? What are the ups and downs? What are the positives and maybe challenges of that, given that Lane Lambert has asked Shane Wright to be more of a shooter? Is that something that he's going to have to relinquish to take more of a defensive role as a centerman? I guess we'll see how the lines roll out today. But coming up next, we'll hear a little bit from Shane Wright and Lane Lambert about, again, what more do we need to see from Wright? What is the expectation, and how has the team, at least up until recently, been maneuvering to give him that opportunity? And then we'll close with just a few things that we need to keep in mind if we want to get our second win of the season against Chicago. Today's episode of Locked on Kraken brought to you by our friends at Rougiette. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED, designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. The process is fast, simple, and private. And it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugied.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Today's episode of Locked on Kraken also brought to you by our friends at Doer. Now, Doer jeans are something that I'm really excited to try. I've been on the road, so I haven't had my Doer jeans yet, but they are sponsoring with a few of us in the Pacific Northwest. And I love the backstory. The founder being someone who wanted to lower the carbon footprint, moved from a motorized vehicle to a bicycle, and quickly realized that jeans, as we know them, not made for riding bikes, at least not comfortably. And so, using that practical knowledge from real life, Doer jeans are created to have 5 times the stretch of traditional denim. They're also antibacterial, meaning your jeans stay fresh longer so you can wear more and wash less. They're made with Coolmax that will regulate your body temperature and will wick moisture away. It keeps you cool and comfortable as the temperature changes. And the great thing is that you're not sacrificing style. I got to go on and pick my specific jeans that I can't wait to try. And you are having everything from coveralls to overalls to just really great colors. I mean, the color palette was a lot of fun to play around with. And it's designed to look great and stay comfortable no matter what you're doing. Riding a bike, hosting a podcast, covering hockey, Doer has got you covered. So make sure that you check out the world's most comfortable pants and that you don't sacrifice style. Get you a pair for yourself or as an amazing holiday gift, go now to shopdoer.com/LockedOnSeattle. You'll get 15% off your first order. That's shopdoer.com/LockedOnSeattle for 15% off. Shopdoer.com/LockedOnSeattle. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Erica Ayala here. And, we heard from Oscar Fisker Mølgaard. We heard from Coach Lambert about bringing in Oscar. But of course, that does mean there are lineup changes. Ben Meyers, no longer at the NHL level. That's Mølgaard's spot. But then we are hearing that Berkly Catton is going to go on the wing. So what does that mean for a player like Shane Wright, who in the last handful of days, we've been hearing the move to the wing for him is to get his offense going, because our head coach, Lane Lambert, calls him a shooter. I mean, he's been asked about this a few times now. And, it's all good news that this organization, I think, is looking to put Shane in a position where he can help really give a spark to the offense. And with Mølgaard coming in, but specifically with Catton going back and forth from the wing, and it sounds like going to play wing in the next handful of games, likely while Fisker Mølgaard is here, then what does that mean for Shane Wright? It likely means that he's going to play center. So let's go back a little bit, a few days, and hear what Lane and Shane had to say about him kind of playing both roles and how to get acclimated. And then again, we'll talk about, what this means for his ongoing, what feels like, development in the NHL. Ayala, again, your host of Locked On Kraken. If you're not already, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, thanks to Joe Dabney, TikTok, and of course, right here on YouTube and your favorite audio platform. You can search Locked On Kraken, and that's where you'll find the show. Let's continue on. Lane Lambert shaking things up offensively. That has also included putting Shane Wright at wing. Let's hear what Lane Lambert and Shane Wright had to say about trying to produce more offense, specifically coming from number 51.
I'm shuffling to the lines again on last game as well with Berkly at center, moving Shane to wing there. What kind of is your conversation been with Shane about how he can be effective at wing?
Well, he's got to use his speed, and he's got to shoot. He's a shooter for me. He can make plays, sure. But, when he's having success, he's shooting the puck. So we're trying to put him in a position to get the puck on his stick in an area where he can release it a little bit more.
Yeah, just to be a little more free offensively. Obviously, a little less responsibility in the D zone and, really just kind of a push pace offensively, really, push to make plays and, transition offense a little quicker and, play a little more free there.
Yeah. How have you been feeling about how it went and kind of having that freedom to play?
Yeah, it was good. I think, felt good last game. Felt good to, be able to push offensively a little more, be able to, get out of the zone a little quicker than before at center. So, felt good.
And with Berkly at center there, how do you guys kind of communicate knowing that that's usually where you play? What kind of goes into just working together there?
Yeah, it's just communication coming into the D zone. He's a smart player, so he knows where to go. He knows, when he's the low guy and when, maybe I'm the first guy in or whatever it looks like. So, just kind of communication and just reading off where the other guy is.
So, a few things there let me pause this. Okay. A few things there, including, Berkly Catton seeing some more time, especially as the fourth line centerman. That's usually Winterton and Ty Cartier. Again, our fourth line, they've been humming, they've been buzzing. I think their shots still missing, which is a problem throughout the lineup, but not as much as other lines. Their tenacity is phenomenal. They are a sandpaper line for sure. And, their instincts are right there. It's just the final touch, the finesse. And some of that is, again, just really great defensive plays from the opposition that has left them a little dry when it comes to the score sheet. Okay, again, so my headband was way too tight. Anyway, now the curls are all over the place. that was, of course, Shane Wright and Lane Lambert talking about, well, Shane Wright and his role, what we want to see from him. Overall, the team has been asked to be more aggressive, be more, shot first focused. We saw in the game in Detroit that it got better, but there were a few times, significant times where you just want the Kraken to be more aggressive and shoot. And so Shane Wright opening up that part of his offense is easier, as you heard him say and allude to. It's easier when there are, in theory, fewer defensive assignments baked into the specific spot that he's playing on the ice. So I think it's going to be interesting. So if the idea is to move Freddy Gaudreau up, also I think I've been spelling Freddy wrong. Like, I feel like I interchange. So apologies to Freddy Gaudreau for spelling your name wrong. So you have Freddy Gaudreau moving up. That's what we heard. Catton moving over. So if Catton is moving over at this moment, or the last time we got the lines, that was Wright on the wing. So if Catton's at that wing, Freddy's moving up, then that either means that Wright is taking that centerman spot, or another winger is sitting out. And we know that Oscar Fisker Mølgaard is coming in, so that then occupies that fourth line center, which means that either Wright or Nyman, as far as I can tell. I guess it could be Cartier as well. But, it's likely Wright or Jani Nyman who will be the healthy scratch, assuming everyone else is healthy. Eventually, Jared McCann will come back into the role. So I feel like, again, I've been talking about this the last several episodes. What are we going to do when it comes to the offense? Because right now we're trying to fit Catton and Wright into roles to get them to be more productive. But is that what they'll need to do when McCann comes back, or if Mølgaard plays well and stays? What are we looking to develop Catton and Wright? Is it one? Is it the other? Or do we need them to deliver? And in that way, could they lose out on a spot because of someone else coming in? Or is Mølgaard really just that filler regardless? I think there are a lot of different ways it can go. Of course, some of it is predicated on how these guys perform. I was hoping to see more Jani Nyman just because I know what he can do offensively. And, I don't think he's given the same opportunities to make an impact to the team game overall. And we talked about that a little bit on the previous episode. A lot to discuss, and we'll get to see it unfold as the Seattle Kraken take on the Chicago team tonight, and it will be the NHL debut of Oscar Fisker Mølgaard. Today's episode of Locked on Kraken brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Now, we know, of course, it's NHL season, it's NFL season, but we also know that the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game, or maybe you just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making a late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Seattle hockey fans, it is a game day. That's right. The Seattle Kraken will be taking on Chicago. Now, last time we saw these two teams play, the Seattle Kraken did get the 3-1 win. That was a great home win for the Kraken at that time. A solid performance from Joey Decord. We saw that Joey took on 24 shots total, saved 23. The Seattle Kraken, though, as a team, were outperformed in some categories. They did win the power play battle. They gave up 3 power plays, but they were 3 for 3 on the penalty kill, were 50% on the power play. The faceoffs in favor of Chicago, 57.9% to 42.1. We've heard Lane Lambert talk about faceoffs before. It's another opportunity, especially obviously in the offensive end, for the Kraken to control possession a little bit better, and it's just not necessarily an area that they are thriving in. The hits, 20 for the Kraken versus 12 for Chicago. Block shots, 19 for Seattle, 11 for Chicago. Giveaways were about even, 21 to 20, Chicago with 21. Takeaways, 4 for Seattle, 2 for Chicago. We saw goals from Berkly, Ben Meyers, that was the power play goal, and Jamie Alexiak. Love seeing our big guy score. So the goal for the Kraken was scored by Andre Burakovsky. Don't want to put all your eggs in the Berkey basket, apparently, even if that basket is in Chicago. Glad to see Andre Burakovsky. That at the time was his 5th goal. Truly glad to see him seemingly finding his stride in Chicago. Just never really worked out in Seattle. And I think that had a lot to do with who was, or honestly wasn't, around him. But the reason I wanted to talk about the Berkey goal is because it was the first game for me that I was like, oh, Vince Dunn making some questionable plays, because it was Vince Dunn that had a chance to get body to body, stick to stick on Connor Bedard, who chipped a puck up to himself on a self pass off of the boards as he's going through the neutral zone. And it's really interesting because actually the Seattle Torrents were practicing drills about body positioning on the defensive side of things. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to see the Kraken do these drills. But what the drills were talking about, and what I didn't see from Vince Dunn, and when I've noticed him in the bad way on the ice, what he often doesn't do well enough that leads to opportunity is getting to the body of the player who's coming on the attack. In this case, it was Connor Bedard. Again, chips that puck up. We know he's young, he's spry, he's fast, he skates well. And Vince Dunn, in my opinion, could have done a much better job of marking Bedard and making it difficult, because Bedard gets past Dunn and then is held up by Larson, who cuts off his angle. But when Larson leaves the spot, then now you have both of your defensemen, and that's when Andre Burakovsky, following the play, makes a passing lane for Bedard, who is about to get cut off by Larson. And that space that Burakovsky occupies, that's where Larson could have been if Dunn, in this case, it could be any player, but it was Dunn in this case, had done a better job of guiding Connor Bedard into the block instead of going at where he was and not anticipating enough where he was going to be. I think Vince also hedged his bet maybe on using his stick to make things more difficult, but that's then when you get penalties and stuff like that. So I could really break that down. Obviously, I just did. What does that mean for today's game? Well, don't do that. This is a scrappy team. We got the win 3-1 earlier in the season. And that very specific play, and it's not just Vince Dunn. I said I've noticed it's when it's Vince Dunn, but it's not just Vince. We've seen Stevenson do this. The other day, Lane Lambert talked about giving up a power play goal where it was effectively the same thing. You're out of position. Everyone's watching the puck in one area. Well, that was kind of a little different because it was in the offensive zone. But similarly, when everyone's watching or you're overcorrecting, then you leave that space open. And that cannot happen. That is where the Kraken, and in my opinion, their inability to be consistently demanding defensively, historically throughout the organization's existence, not just under Lane Lambert or Bylsma or Haxtell, like throughout the existence of the Kraken, I've wanted to see these disciplinary things that you have to do defensively be the norm. And you have to focus and execute, because we see time and time again that when the Kraken do not execute in those ways, that's when they can start racking up the losses. So you have to nip that, focus on it. And it's, again, something that I've noticed with Vince Dunn in the last, well, I guess the San Jose game, the last San Jose game, and the last time we played Chicago. So that was extremely specific to today's game, what I want to see, or for that matter, what I don't want to see. The Kraken, they got outshot last time and were still able to defeat Chicago. But here's the thing. This game is going to be really interesting and a really good barometer, if you will, for the Kraken, because if you look at where things stand in the West for the wild card, Chicago is in the driver's seat with now Minnesota ahead. That would have been different yesterday. But as of today, and Chicago, their goal differential is a plus 15. The Kraken goal differential is -3. And it goes to something that Vince Dunn said that I actually want to talk about probably on tomorrow's episode, is that the Kraken, Vince saying it himself, the Kraken have to give more quote unquote run support or goal support, right, to their goaltenders. And Vince is the one who said it. I think Piper talked about this on the broadcast on Tuesday. Our goaltenders get a bad rap, but the team needs to take more responsibility. And no truer words. I do want to break down all of what he said, though, because I very much agree with some of it. And another part of it, I'm like, I have some extra thoughts, but we'll talk about that on an upcoming episode of Locked On Kraken. We are going to have a post-game episode. Sylvia Leja from Los Kraken and I are going to break down what we see in Chicago. And we're also going to talk a little bit about what we've been seeing from the Seattle Torrent. So you're not going to want to miss that post-game episode. Again, Sylvia Leja and I are going to talk two Latinas talking Kraken hockey. I cannot wait. We'll have that. We also are going to have Ava on the show later on this week. And again, Vince Dunn, he said put some respect on the goalies, and I agree with him, but we also need to demand more from our defense, which is why I said what I said on today's episode. A reminder, be kind to yourselves. Extend that kindness when you're able to others. And let's hold fast, stay true and loud and proud. We say on a game day, let's go Kraken. Of course, we also say let's go Torrent. I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.